During the mid to late 1800s,
Many individuals and families left the German-speaking regions of Europe and settled in Dubuque, Iowa. After Iowa achieved statehood in 1846, its oldest town, Dubuque, became an attractive destination for the waves of migrants coming from the Germanic states.
I think Dubuque was already an important center for a lot of Germans, and the German-Austrian background that was represented here was appealing. The promise of what was here in the United States in the 1800s certainly drew my great-grandfather here. Frank M. Romberg in the 1880s made a very bold move on his part by going from Germany, Austria to the new land, the United States, at a time when he was in his early 20s, and in addition to getting himself into the wholesale liquor business with his brother, Al, he also had some foresight and saw the fur business as another industry that he would tackle. The business was a tanning business first, but they were beginning with some vision to form a fashion business as well. The lap robes, as they called them, or horse-drawn carriage trade coats were pretty basic and pretty simple, and probably maybe a little oversized too sometimes, just to make sure that you had enough fabric there to keep warm. And some of those early patterns were just basically, you know, a straight sleeve or a cuff or a simple collar and buttons or simple closures. In the early days, we had blocks of ice that were brought in from the Mississippi River, and these huge blocks of ice were stored in a separate room adjacent to the vaults. Forced air was blown into the vaults, and it created an air-conditioned vault in the days before air conditioning as we know it today really was put into place.
The Fisher Ice Company likely supplied the ice that cooled the Romberg vaults.
My family came here in 1854. Louis Fisher I came from Germany, and his wife-to-be was from Austria. There was a man by the name of Cushing that ran a vinegar ice house, and he took Lewis in as a partner. Then he had a chance to buy it, and they did. In 1873, Louis fell through the ice and caught pneumonia as a result. And Lewis and Caroline had 5 children. So after that, Caroline had to run the business and raise 5 kids.
Caroline she knew that the ice delivery men were somewhat less reliable than they should have been. They would get paid off by the bar owners in town with drinks for discounts on ice, and they would get drunk, and she would take her wagon around to make sure that the ice delivery men were doing their job, and when they weren't, she would hitch their wagons to hers and take the wagon back to the ice company.
Pepsi-Cola Bottling Company and its precursors were started by the Gantz family.
The Gantzes, when they came over, they lived in Purdsfeld, Germany, and then they came over to the United States in the early 1700s. The CJ's great-grandfather, Levi Gantz, came from York County, Pennsylvania, around 1880, and settled here and married Mary Vanderhayden in 1885, and then they stayed here until approximately 1920 before they moved to Minneapolis and then on to California. And their son, John C. Gantz, his grandfather, is the one that founded the Pepsi-Cola Company, and he's the only one of 14 children that remained in Dubuque, and while the rest of his family ended up being in California.
The original building would have if you're familiar with Dubuque at all, would have been on the corner of JFK and Highway 52. At one time it was called, one of the last names it was called was Antonio's. That was the original bottling facility for North End Bottling, which eventually became Lime Rock Springs. But if you walked in the building, they used to produce there, and you'd go into the bottling area and you'd open up this lid over this big cement dome, and down in there was the Lime Rock Springs. You could actually see the spring running through the lime rock there. That's where Lime Rock actually got its name through that Lime Rock Springs because we were using fresh Lime Rock Springs water. We worked out of that facility for bottling till 1969 when we moved across the street to the current facility. Going forward, I'm hoping that my son and my nephew are able to pass, the businesses on to, well, as I did, to their next generation. Dubuque is a great place, so I wish them all the luck in the world.
Sisters-in-law and lifelong friends Janet Schmid-Romberg and Mary Schwind-Schmid also come from German families that began prominent Dubuque businesses.
I'm Janet Schmid-Romberg, Titus's daughter, and Dad started the business Crescent Electric Supply in 1919 and was extremely successful almost immediately. Crescent Electric has kind of been in different phases, but they did electrical appliances, sold washers, dryers, and then all kinds of other electricity, light bulbs and what else, Mary?
Just helping suppliers with electrical work when they're building homes. My great-grandfather came over here at the age of 21 and came from Baden-Baden, Germany. And he first went to Milwaukee, and then he went to Oshkosh. And his wife, Marie, that he married, came over at the age of 15. And I believe they were married 4 years after she was here. I don't know that they knew each other before, but they were married in Oshkosh. Then they moved to Dubuque in 1853, I believe, and made their home here. And that's when they ended up with a family of 9 children, 7 girls and 2 boys. When they came to Dubuque, I think he started a brewery with a very good friend of his, and they were in business for 27 years. Eventually that brewery closed, and then they formed this other brewery together. The Dubuque Brewery and Malting Company operated until Prohibition forced them to close. In an interview with the Telegraph Herald, Jacob told the reporter that 30 to 40 glasses of beer per day was about right for each individual.
Yeah, why not?
For many Dubuquers, having family so entrenched in Dubuque history means encountering reminders of their ancestors in daily life, as well as an enhanced connection to the community. Louis Fisher's great-great-grandparents, Louis Fisher and Caroline Romberg, were married at St. Mary's Church in Dubuque.
There's a window, a stained glass window down there that I think it's on the right-hand side that it says changing water into wine, Caroline Fisher.
It's neat to know the historical connection to Dubuque. It feels like home to know that the Louis I lived here and did a lot to start some of the things that are history in Dubuque, the Ice Harbor and the connection to that, and Fisher Ice Company and the Fisher Building.
We do have a proud German heritage, and our coat of arms and some of the things that represent us, we're very proud of. It allows you to, I think, become a little more forward-thinking and not just attending only to the immediate problems that are right in front of you every day, and maybe see how you can benefit the community both financially, with your own efforts too, that maybe you devote your time, as I've tried to do, to the Boys and Girls Club of Dubuque, or to my parish, or to a number of other organizations.
I feel more connected to the community because of the generations, absolutely.
We're very fortunate to have been, that Dubuque has supported us, and I think we feel obligations that, we continue to support Dubuque through many of the organizations and charities.
Mary Schmid and Janet Romberg have spent their lives giving back to the community their forebears helped to build, and were instrumental in the creation of Crescent Community Health Center.
Crescent Community Health Center started 10 years ago. This is the 10th anniversary.
It did start with Janet and I did visit down in Davenport where they had a health center, and then actually approached the whole family, and we all combined forces and helped him get started. Good
There was just a need for it, and we're pleased that it's really done extremely well. And it has been just really great. We are thrilled with what's going on there.
Dubuque's German immigrants brought their arts from the old country, organizing choirs such as the Dubuque Männerchor and later the Dubuque Sängerbund, holding concerts and hosting music festivals.
Although the Dubuque Sängerbund went inactive in response to World War II, the German choirs provided a solid foundation for the arts to grow and thrive in Dubuque.
I think Dubuque itself is a piece of artwork. You know, it seemed like it was neglected in the 70s and the early part of the 80s, but it's kind of been restored, and the history is art in itself. You know, that what is the slogan, masterpiece on the Mississippi? That seems to be appropriate, and the fact that the people who are in charge of promoting that pay attention to the history of things, and that the arts community in Dubuque is vibrant and kind of, I think that all of those things are enhancing each other.
I think Dubuque's very fortunate to have such an active community supporters for the arts and for the museum that's gone forth and keeping all of Dubuque's history. I know when I came here in 1979, Dubuque had, so many houses for sale, and I remember the overpass over Highway 20 said, "Last one out, turn out the lights," and I thought, where am I moving? And things have changed so much in these 37 years that I have been here. The community is growing and thriving, and so we're very lucky we have so many leaders and interested patrons that are keeping Dubuque alive.
I've lived here every year except the 4 years I was in college, and I love it. It's great.